Hey guys, welcome back to another video. This is issue 8 of Invincible Compendium One. I want to give a heads up that right now it's dark and raining outside, even though it's noon. So I don't know if you guys will hear the rain on the window right now. And if you do, then hopefully it adds some ambiance to the video. I'm just trying it out, see how it goes. So let's, like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Let me know what you think if you do notice the rain in the background. And I just heard thunder, so we'll be reading this comic with rain and thunder in the background, and maybe that'll be something you guys like. Let's find out. So without further ado, let's get started. Oh, I do want to point out my personal opinion so far about the comic. It kind of has been going pretty quick. It's been going quick in terms of, well, in comparison to the show. Right now, it looks like we're dealing with the aftermath of the Guardians of the Globe being murdered by Omni-Man. And as gory as it was, I really appreciated that the show really went in depth and laid out the fight between Omni-Man and the Guardians of the Globe, and that they did it on the first episode. Other than that, I don't really have any gripes with the comic so far, or any other gripes about the comic so far. It's just those two things: the pace and the fact that they left out the fight with the Guardians of the Globe. It's kind of, they all died on one page. I think it's all right here, actually. Yeah. Literally just this one page is when they were here, and then they weren't, and then Omni-Man, and the end. So, without further ado, let's get right into it. I might talk a bit louder than usual, just because I don't know how the thunder is. Okay, issue 8. Back at Mark's house, we see Nolan talking with a detective. I forgot his name. Nolan says, "I don't know what else to say. I just can't believe they're all dead. I can't seem to get over it. Who could do such a thing?" The detective says, "That's what I intend to find out. What do you know about Black Samson?" Nolan says, "Well, you'll have to pardon me. I'm a little shaken by all this. The night before last, I was called to the tailor shop. He's a close personal friend of mine. He had been developing a suit for Samson to restore the powers he lost before the Guardians kicked him out. The suit had been stolen." The detective says, "Do you think Samson was capable of something like this?" Nolan says, "No, not at all. He wasn't powerful enough to take on any of the Guardians alone when he had his powers. If he did steal the suit himself, I can't imagine it could restore him to full power, let alone make him strong enough to do what you said happened to them." The detective says, "Good point. Still, he's the prime suspect at this point. Do you know of anyone else who would have motive to do such a thing?" In Mark's room, we see Eve already there as Mark is climbing in through the window, and he says, "Eve, what are you doing here?" And she says, "Oh, Mark, it was horrible. It was Rex with Kate and there was more than one of her. He says, what do you mean? Oh, Mark, he was cheating on me with that Maltese slut. Oh. She says, I was coming back to the base the night before last to see if he wanted to do anything before I went home. He was there, out in the open, with her. I was so stunned, I just collapsed. They didn't even know I was there for a minute or two. I've been a wreck ever since. Mark says, it'll be okay. You'll see. I always kind of thought he was a jerk anyway. She says, you did? Mark's mother comes into the room and says, Mark, when did you get home? Oh, that does not look appropriate at all. Mark says, Mom, hey. And the mother says, downstairs, both of you, now. They come downstairs and Mark says, Mom, it's not what you think. Eve and I are just friends. She says, Mark, you're too young to have girls sneaking into your room with you. I thought we had brought you up better than that. I want both of you to sit on the couch. We're going to talk. Mark says, I'm so sorry. Eve says, it's okay. His mother goes on a rant. Look, I realize you're getting to that age, but I just want to make sure that you two understand the consequences of your actions. I can't always be there to keep an eye on you, especially you two. You could fly off to a deserted island for an hour and I never even know. Mom, we're really just friends. Nolan comes in and says, hi, Eve. I didn't know you were here. Mark, we've got a funeral to attend tomorrow. The Guardians of the Globe are dead. Back at Mark's high school, William comes up and says, hey man, what's going on? Mark says, getting ready for physics. This new teacher we've got is killing us. William says, hey, seems more to be a recurring problem with the physics teacher at this school. You gonna blow this one up too? Mark says, geez, that's not what I meant. And I didn't blow up Mr. Hiles. He blew himself up. And keep it down. You want to give away my secret identity? William says, sorry. A random girl walks past, passing Mark a note, says, here. Open it later when you get home. Mark says, did that just happen? And William says, yeah. Wow. And Mark says, hold the phone. Is that who I think it is? William says, yep, Derek Sanders. I can't believe you didn't know this was his first day back. The whole school is talking about it. What's it been? A month? Month and a half? The guy had most of his organs rearranged and turned into bomb timers. I figured he'd be out the rest of the year. I read in the newspaper that all the junk that was put in him is keeping him alive. All the bomb stuff was taken out, and now he's pretty much back to normal, aside from having a metal torso. Man, you saved his life when you stopped Mr. Hiles. He's probably coming over here to thank you. Mark says, he doesn't know who I am, William. Jeez, will you keep it down? Derek walked past and Mark says, hey, welcome back, man. Derek smiles and says, thanks. Mark says to William, I wasn't expecting that. Yeah, he always was a bit of an ass. You doing anything today? Chad and I are going to hit the Burger Mart after school. Mark says, I can't, man. I've got a funeral to go to later. And William says, no crap. The Guardians of the Globe thing, right? I guess you got invited because of your dad. Keep it down, man. How many times do I have to tell you? Crap. Sorry. Eve walks up and says, "Was that Derek?" Mark says, "Yep." Wow. William says, "Well, Mark, I need to get going or I'm going to be late for my class. Have fun at the thing tomorrow," as he winks. Eve says, "I'm on my way to the little girl's room before I head off to physics. I just wanted to thank you for talking to me about that stuff." And Mark realizes he has secrets with both of them. And they both go their separate ways. And he just sighs. Later on, we skip to him fighting an elephant and an elephant man, which I can't say is strange considering I'm a Spider-Man fan and there is a rhino, so this is right up the alley. So Mark is punching an elephant man and he says, "Ha, you weren't half as tough as you claimed to be." Omni-Man flying up behind him says, "Son, what are you doing? We need to be going. We're supposed to be there soon." Mark says, "Sorry, I got sidetracked on my way home from school." Back at home, we see Nolan in the bathroom getting freshened up, brushing his teeth and everything. And Debbie comes over and says, "Oh, how long have you been home?" Nolan says, "About a minute or so. Mark's getting ready too. We need to leave in a bit." Debbie says, "The funeral is today?" "Yeah." "Hey, have you thought about what we're going to do for Mark's birthday this year?" "Mark's birthday?" Nolan asks. "Yeah, you know, Mark, our son, his birthday is next week." "Don't tell me you forgot." Nolan says, "I guess so, with all that's been going on." And Debbie says, "Oh, geez, hun, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize this was hitting you so hard." Nolan just closes his eyes and looks away. We skip to the funeral and we see several heroes showing up. A green fish guy says, "Geez, and here comes the number one suspect." Again, I'm forgetting these heroes' names, or I just flat out don't know. So I'm just going to start making up names. The knockoff Hellboy says, "Not anymore. I checked him out today. It was obvious that he hadn't left his house in weeks. He didn't even know they had died until I told him. His grief was genuine. I ruled him out. We currently have no real suspects. I'm focusing on villains at the moment. They had many." Well, that's not good news. I'll let you know if I hear anything. Someone's bound to take credit for it sooner or later. Oh, there's the family. I'm going to find our seats. We skip to Nolan's speech at the funeral. And he says, "We are gathered here to remember the greatest team of superheroes the world has ever known, that I've known. I've been working with the Guardians of the Globe since I came to Earth. They were mentors to me early on in my career. The Immortal, Darkwing, Green Ghost, War Woman, the Red Rush, Martian Man, and Aquarius. Names we'll never forget. People that will go down in history. Legends taken from us before their time." We get a glimpse of the crowd and we see the Mauler twins creeping into the back row. And Nolan says, "What are you doing here?" One of the twins says, "Please continue. We do not wish to cause a scene." The other twin says, We are here to pay our respects to a worthy adversary. Nothing more. We will not interfere with the proceedings. And Invincible says, Dad, I'll keep an eye on them. I don't think they'll try anything with all of us here. I'm pretty sure he should not have said Dad out in the public like that. But just then, an explosion goes off behind Omni-Man. And some guy flying around in a suit says, no, they were mine. Mine. And someone in the crowd says, Sanford? We've got to end this fast, people. There are civilians present. Get Angel to safety, Jennifer. The guy flying around in the sky says, they can't be dead. Not until I have my revenge. They have to pay for what they did to Samson. Who is this clown? One hero says. Another one says, Samsons Butler. Samsons Butler says, you can't stop me. I won't quit until I see their bodies destroyed. Invincible says, unless your tailoring skills make you invulnerable, I've got to get you out of here. As he's talking to the shop tailor. And he says, fine with me. The butler continues saying, they abandoned Samson, turned their backs on him when he needed them most. For that, they must pay. He's fighting two nameless heroes that I don't recognize. And Omni-Man flies up and smacks him in the back of the head, knocking him out. And Samson in the crowd says, Sanford. He says, what have you done, old friend? What have you done? One of them all the twins says, geez, you defeated us in less time than this. What took you so long with this bozo? Omni-Man in the background consoling Aquarius's wife, I'm assuming, says, I'm truly sorry for your loss. And she says, it wasn't your fault. Invincible was talking to the green fish guy, and he says, are all funerals like this? More often than not, I'm sad to say. Invincible says, geez, don't tell me that. And he looks over at the Waller twins and says, what? Oh. The green guy says, those two are up to something. Invincible agrees and says, yeah. After the funeral, Omni-Man is talking to Invincible's asking, you ready to go home, Mark? Anytime you are. We skip to Teen Team's hideout as Eve is flying in, and she calls her robot, saying, robot, anyone home? And we go into the next room and see Robot, Duplicate, and Rex. And Robot says, could you hand me that power coupling? You don't say. And Eve gets upset and says, oh, I see how it's going to be now. And Rex says, Eve, wait, as she storms out. And as she flies out through the exit, Rex says, it doesn't have to be this way. Back at Mark's room, Mark's taking off his mask, turns on his light, and says, what a day. He smiles, checks his backpack for the note that was given to him by the girl earlier. He opens it and sees it says, to Mark, from Amber. And he goes to open it and realizes that someone is tapping on his window. And he goes to the window and says, what the? But we see that on the note that was given to him was a phone number with the words, call me. Mark goes out the window and he sees William. And he says, "Whoa, cease fire," as he's still throwing rocks to get Mark's attention. William says, "Oops, sorry." "Man, that Amber girl wants me to call her." William says, "Really, you stud?" "I didn't even know her," Mark says. "She's in my history classes, but we've never spoken." William says, "Well, I guess she wants to get to know you. Seems that way. So what's up?" "Well, I've been thinking about this since we got back from Upstate University the other day. I was thinking, now that I know you can do things I can't, and every boy has always wanted to do, if maybe you'd..." And he stops talking and points up. And Mark just sighs. And he carries William into the sky. And he says, "This is so gay." Back in the master bedroom with Mark's parents, Debbie says, "What are you doing over there?" And Nolan says, "Notes for a new book. I'll probably have to kick out another one soon if Mark's going to college." Debbie says, "You okay?" "I'm fine. Why do you ask? You just haven't been yourself lately." "Jesus, Debbie, 7 of my colleagues were just murdered." "I know, but that's not it. I've seen you sad. I've seen you mourn before. This is different. You're acting preoccupied, distant. I can't put my finger on it." He says, "I'm fine." Okay. Forget I said anything." Back at Arlington Cemetery, we see the guy, Derek, visiting a grave, and he says, "You son of a bitch. It's not a short drive out here, I can't believe they even allowed you to be buried here." As we realize he's looking at the graveyard of David Howes, the man that turned him into a living bomb. "I guess your ex-wife felt sorry for you, pulled some strings so you could be buried with your fellow veterans. You were what? A clerk?" "Well, I don't feel sorry for you. I don't care what happened to your son to make you do what you did. But I did bring you a gift." As he unzips his pants and pees on the grave. And we see in the distance, there are 2 other people also nearby. And one of them says, "Come on, hurry. You want to get caught?" The other guy says, Why are we doing this again?" "Because I read on the internet that if you drink from the immortal skull, you'll live forever." "His skull? But he wouldn't be down to a skull yet. He's only been dead a few days." "So, you want to wait until the dirt over him settles? Or until someone else gets the idea?" "Well, start digging." Okay. They both start trying to dig up Immortal's grave. They get deeper and deeper. And then one of them says, "I think I hit it. I think we're done." And just then the Mauler twins are behind them and says, "We'll take it from here, boys. You have no idea the time you saved us." "Indeed," the other twin says. Alright guys, I'm going to stop there and we're going to pick up on issue 9. As always, like the videos, leave a comment, and subscribe for more videos. See you in the next one. Peace.